What's up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is my daily fantasy handle. Hopefully, we see that somewhere atop the standings over there on the old Fanduel, the Draftkings, playing some Mlb Dfs tonight. Of course, NFL on layaway right around the corner. Big Sunday slate going down. Thursday night's the showdown slate. Tomorrow night, I got my show with Daigle and Rebar. Can't wait to talk some football. Getting excited already. But, hey, it's the doldrums. We finally hit it. We're in the final month, the final stretch of baseball. I don't get sick of baseball, Tim. Like it usually, but sometimes this kind of hits me out of nowhere. I think I'm starting to get there. I think we're starting to get. This is finally the spot where it's like, I could use a day off of baseball. I mean, didn't stop me from researching and digging in and doing all that good stuff today. And we're playing hard tonight. But and also, I'm still bitter about yesterday because my bold stance was let's play a bunch of Tristan McKenzie and not a lot of Lance Lynn with the Angels. And well, egg on my face. Did not work out for me. Lance Lynn with a career high strikeouts or something. Wasn't good for your boy, but I think we midcast with our Angels. How about yourself? How are things in your world? How did yesterday's slate go? Did you were you sharp enough to lock in Lance Lynn?
I was sharp enough to lock in Lance Lynn, Dean, but I still did absolutely horribly. I 5-man the Padres.
Oh,
and they combined for one single, my 5-man stack. So that I had Mike Trout, I had Ward, but I did not have Ohtani. So
what with the left on left scared you? That used money probably was a thing.
I played Josh Bell, which let me tell you, that did not work.
Yeah, I feel like playing Josh Bell.
Although he was my lone single in that 5-man Padres stack.
It was a line drive up the middle. I was watching that game, and good for him. But yeah, my bold stance of Lance Lynn, he's not my favorite amongst these. And like I understood why people were playing him because of the he's just too cheap. He's kind of an innings eater or whatever. But I did not anticipate. I don't know what he had, about 10, maybe 11 strikeouts or something like that. Was not good.
I even had Suarez on my team too.
Suarez. He was good for the Angels. Yeah, there was a lot of good pitchers yesterday.
Yeah, like I had the pitching duo, but my bats were awful.
This is why the MLB DFS gods, they say, you know what, yesterday it happened, whatever. If you did well, good for you. If not, shake it off, start all over again. Brand new slate. It's an 11-gamer if you guys are not aware in the chat. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button to subscribe. Turn on those notifications. So about RG just released the football schedule. There's a plethora of stuff going on, and there's even some things that aren't even listed. I'm sure, I presume, Devin tell me otherwise. We're going to have like showdown slates too. That wasn't in there. If it was, I missed it. Showdown slates are happening, right, Devin?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Are you coming to me from like Minnesota? Where are you?
No, I'm flabbergasted at why you wouldn't think we have that. We're going to have premium videos for RG subscribers. We're also going to have pre-lock free ones that will take us all the way up to kickoff.
Well, I mean, I wasn't framing it in a way like we're not going to. I don't like to speak out of turn or like speak incorrectly. That's why if I'm going to speak in a definitive, I want to be 100% sure. And
sure. You were teeing me up like a professional.
And I know you're lurking. You got the mic on. You're ready and good to go. And
sipping on my kombucha, just hanging out.
Of course, kombucha is the chalk. By the way. Oh man, yeah. So super excited to be talking some NFL soon enough tomorrow night. Myself and I just mentioned it. Rebar and Daigle, really sharp dudes. That's a good way for me to set off the MLB, the NFL DFS slates. Yankee game was canceled. That's what I was kind of getting at. Garrett Cole. Probably the top pitcher on the slate. Garrett Cole not throwing baseballs tonight. Yankees, Minnesota has been rained out. Roth had it, pegged earlier. He basically said it was orange and probably gets a postpone early. So he was all over it. I believe I'm taking a peek now if anything has changed. Yeah, nothing really. Mets versus Pittsburgh. That's a different slate, right? Isn't that like a 6 o'clock game or something?
That's not on the slate. I think it's 6:45, but it's not on the main slate.
Yeah. I always feel bad when Roth was like really sweating hard, like the Reds. He's like so nervous. It's like nobody cares about the Reds at 6:40, Roth. Like nobody tells him.
And nobody tells him. Like,
yeah.
Somebody needs to just say Roth. Nobody cares.
And nobody like he never like sought to like ask anybody. Like he has to know. Like sometimes the 6:40 games matter and sometimes they don't. But I guess all he cares about is like cities and doesn't care about times. I don't know. Right. But yeah, he'll like really be nervous about it. Like, yeah, Roth. Nobody cares. Like one person's playing the showdown slate. Everything else seems good to go. Yellow and Pittsburgh again, not on the slate. We're going to be talking about Philadelphia yellow as well, which again, not on our slate, right? It's another 6 o'clock ish game. Everything else, green in Baltimore, green for the Cubbies. Oh, I thought, has the wind changed that game? I saw it was like 70 degrees earlier because I like the idea of picking on Dunn, who's like probably not, a major league pitcher at this point in his career.
That's what I saw earlier. That's a horrible game for hitters.
That's what I thought. Okay, so did something change? Okay, yeah, 177 games, winds blowing in 8 miles per hour, 71 degrees. And we see a hit of 23% as far as homers historically, similar weather games. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Like the two terrible offenses.
Yeah, a lot. And there's the Cubs. When I looked earlier, were the second highest owned stack on the board, and I get it.
Yeah,
Dunn is awful and he gives up a ton of home runs, but Wrigley is by far the most wind sensitive park in baseball. And this is a huge sample size. So I see, like, I can't get on board with the Cubs today. I know that they're cheap on some sites, but boy, this is a really bad day for hitting there.
Franmil Reyes is like 2.5 or so on DK. I'm just checking to see.
I know.
Yeah, he's batting cleanup, and yeah, Hap's got some power against Dunn. Dunn in a small sample this season, 2.7 homers per 9, which is a lot. That seems like a lot. It's funny that the next guy, as far as homers per 9, is somebody that people are going to be rostering because he's a right-hander and he throws baseballs against Detroit. If you need to save some salary, I think that's where people are going to be scraping it. Kind of curious to have that conversation with you as well. Of course, we tend to focus on like single entry, 3-entry max. We're happy to talk about large field stuff as well, where you can be a little bit more ambitious. In the chat, whenever you want us to talk about, we're here for y'all. We're here for the next 2+ hours. I guess kind of, sort of. Maybe it's just 2 hours when you include the Crunch Time crew and when they officially sign off. But you do have chief meteorologist Kevin Roth leading that crew in about an hour and 20 minutes. I think it's Dave Potts, CheeseIsGood, as well as TJ. So before TJ comes here, have a bunch of likes here and surprise them. Smash, caress, whatever you want to do, whatever your adjective of choice is for that like button. Make it happen. Of course, we're going to talk pitchers first, obviously, and it's there's some good pitchers, right? Biebs is good. Valdez, I know Cardi talks about I'm sure you've heard Gary Cardi talk about how the pitchers, there's no floor, there's no safety. If there was floor, if there was safety, you wanted to make that argument. I think Framber Valdez is Exhibit A, who's got 22 straight starts, quality starts, which is insanity. And one of those starts, I remember not too far ago, he gave 3 runs in the first inning, and he still salvaged. Threw up those 6 innings and did not give up another run the rest of the day. But he's also like somebody that I don't love to spend $11K for on Fanduel. You got Musgrove, you got Wright in a good ballpark there in Oakland. Now that we lost Cole, well, what is Plan B? Assuming Cole was at least strongly considered to be Plan A.
Yeah, I think that projection systems and ownership are following with Valdez today. I completely understand why you would want to go there. Like you said, he is definitely Mr. Consistent, but his strikeout rate is, I think, only around 22%. So it's not like he's some huge strikeout guy. I would rather chase the upside with Bieber. And right now, it looks like Valdez is going to be like 40% owned and Bieber's only going to be 28. So I think that in a vacuum, I'd prefer getting to Bieber.
By the way, not to derail the show right away, but I see in chat, your boy, Broccoli Boy, says if you win $1 million tonight, you're going to pay for me to come out to the big party next month up north, which I've yet to get an invite or a letter of any sort. You verbalized something to me, but it felt kind of forced. Is there $1 million contest you're up for? Is there $1 million contest going down tonight?
Yeah, I'm playing the 2,500 on DK tonight, and I'm playing the 3,300 on FanDuel tonight.
Are they both $1 million up top?
DraftKings is $1 million. FanDuel's $100K.
Oh, did you win a ticket to that, or did you buy your way in? That's 40%.
I bought my way in, Dean. I don't accept handouts, Dean. I don't do that. I just buy right in.
No, you earn a ticket. That's not a handout.
Oh, okay. No, I don't do any of that qualifying stuff. I just straight cash, Dean.
I fired at trying to get a ticket or two, and then I realized, oh wait, I'm going to get to a ticket to a tournament I don't even want to play. I mean, theoretically, I'll take the ticket. I will take the handout. If you want to give me the golden ticket.
So now, okay. All right.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll take the free roll.
That DK tournament is so bad, but I figure it's the end of the baseball season. I'm going to give it a shot, So
yeah, okay. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on that now because, you have the mindset of single entry, 3-entry max, but when you're talking about you're shooting for first in that contest, you're not shooting the mid cash. 40%. It's ridiculously top loaded, and it's awesome for one person. Good for them. Hopefully it's you, and hopefully we're going to be partying in a month or so. We'll see. I'm not sure if that's legally binding, according to Broccoli Boy there in chat. And what's the FanDuel one? Is it the same kind of deal, or it's a little bit less?
So I'm going to be constructing my teams completely differently because the one on FanDuel is just a 3 max 100-person tournament, and it's 2x min cash. It's top 20% get paid, so it's actually a pretty good tournament.
It's a third up top, right? 100K to first at a 300,000.
Yeah, but the way that they spread it out, it's decent. So I'm gonna be probably more conservative on FanDuel. Try to. I don't need to get as crazy on FanDuel to get up top, but on DK, man. If you're gonna tell me that I can win that with a Brewers stack today, probably not. You
might win with a couple Brewers,
right? Well, let's talk about yesterday. Let's talk about yesterday's slate, Dean. Like I said to fade the Brewers, and the only good Brewers were Carantini, Wong, I guess, and McCutchen with his couple singles. But for the most part, that stack was awful. The only problem is that I decided to stack the Cardinals, who couldn't do anything. So it wasn't like it was bad to fade the Brewers yesterday. It just I should have stacked the Blue Jays. If I stacked the Blue Jays, I win a bunch, I bet.
Or you play Aaron Judge like you're supposed to play every single day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Instead I played stupid Tyler O'Neill,
Yeah.
So,
I think I was 1 for 3 on the early slate with the one lineup being Judge, and I think I had Caratini and a couple of the Milwaukee guys. But no McCutchen tonight, which is kind of interesting. He was probably going to be one of the most chalky hitters, and I'm not going to go on the rant again, but we know the deal with DK. DK just does not acknowledge that this game is happening in Coors Field, and they have a 6.5 total, and Rowdy Tellez is going to be insanely. What do we have? 30% ownership? I'm just guessing, and it's going to be even higher in single entry stuff. It's going to be crazy. I think is a 4-2 on DK. It's goofiness. He's even cheap on FanDuel too. He'll probably be the most popular hitter. I've not sorted through the lineup HQ, but no surprise, Milwaukee hitters will be popular against Chad Kuhl, biggest total on the board, and not very hard to hit. Did you have an overview thought before we kind of dive in? I'm curious to pick your brain and see how you're going to get different, and shoot for the top. And obviously, don't give everything away. Don't give away the entire goods, but whatever you're comfortable saying in that $1 million tournament, man. You got a 1 in 1,111 chance. There you go. Well, probably people have no clue what they're doing, so maybe 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, I'd go with that, Dean. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, Dean. I don't know. So if I'm looking to get away from the Brewers today, I think I want to go with the Blue Jays. But I'm not totally that. They're like my first instinct as like the contrarian stack, because I know that Bradish gives up a lot of fly balls to right-handed bats. So that team is just so right-handed heavy.
Bad ballpark to fly balls for righties, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I know. It's tough. Ian, I haven't completely ruled out fading Milwaukee, but I know that I'm not going to just be able to straight stack, the first 5 guys in the Milwaukee lineup and have a real honest chance at, getting a top 5 finish in that tournament.
Well, the other thing is, like, you have a single bullet. There's probably some people that have like 10 entries and they can like take clear and distinct paths, right? So does that change your strategy, knowing that there's so many out there that probably has, 4 Milwaukee stacks and 4 Milwaukee fades, or I don't know what the max is as far as the buy-in, but you know what I'm saying? How does that affect your thought process?
The max is 33.
Yeah.
Which is staggering. Like sometimes I'll play that 888, which is like 11 max, and I feel like I legitimately have a chance with 1 bullet. But I'll be honest, it's the end of the season. This is probably a massively negative EV play for me to put one bullet in this. But it's like I said, it's the end of the season. It's kind of, we're turning to football season, and I'm gonna have some fun and try to hit a big one. But in terms of bankroll, you should be playing that $2,500 or whatever it is and play some cash games. You know what I mean? Like this in the long run, this is a bad decision.
You do as I say, not as I do. You understand what you're doing, and you realize it's not, but it's also fun, right? It's also fun to make one line. I think,
it's fun until I put up 50 fantasy points tonight and finish like next to last, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, So
hey,
but I just like, obviously I want to play Tellez, I want to play Renfroe, I want to play Yelich, but that's going to be me and everybody else. So
Michael in chat says that you're mushing yourself, which is a masterful strategy. Do you have that mushing ability that some people say that I have?
I don't, Dean, and you need to rub some of that, mush ability.
I'll do what I can. If I get an invite to the party, then we're talking. If
I win the $1 million, Dean, you're coming to the party. I'm gonna fly you out first class. I don't even know where you live, but I'll set you up. Don't you worry.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll send you out, Dean. Don't you worry.
Well, I don't know where I'll be living in a month, but as of right now, I'm currently stationed in South Florida. So there you go.
Yeah, easy. That's like a 4 or 5 hour flight, Dean.
If I can fly out of Fort Lauderdale instead of Miami is just the mess to get into and out of. Fort Lauderdale, super easy. There's your little tip. If you're ever flying into South Florida, fly to Fort Lauderdale if you can make that work. So this slate, again, there's good pitchers up top, and it's interesting. You're talking about ownership, and I feel like it's a tough day to figure out ownership because the Cole stuff really shuffles things. I just clicked refresh on our lineup HQ, and now it's offline. We got to click it again. And now I got to buy some time and say some words because I'm nothing without my ownership projections. I'm just be making stuff up, I suppose. So right now, well, you can help me out, but I have FanDuel open, and we got Bieber as the top projected guy at 22%, Valdez at 17%, who's just super, super safe. That quality start in theory is on layaway. All the ground balls in the world, not a ton of strikeouts, but efficiency floor, that kind of stuff has value in theory. Musgrove versus Arizona is a perfectly fine matchup. You got Kyle Wright, great ballpark there in Oakland. Oakland's terrible. Of course, that ballpark does suppress strikeouts to some degree with their massive foul territory. Our projection on Michael Myers is concerning to me. It's ambitious, but it's also like it's Detroit, right? And he's 5'8" on FanDuel. I don't know how much of that salary. Like if you want, just roster the best players in the world as far as hitters, you can do it. And on DK, I want to say he's 4'8". That's off the dome. We'll keep that conversation on layaway, but I'm really curious what you're doing with that. But talk me through, the ownership stuff of Bieber, Valdez, Musgrove, Wright. Is there one of those guys that's clearly better than the others?
Talent-wise, not really. There's not much separating those four guys. It's really going to be, as I start building a lineup, what can I do, to be kind of contrarian, and also see, I'm a big believer in the safety of pitching, even tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have security in my pitching.
But do you want the safest pitcher in like the tournament where you're basically shooting for first?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Well, I mean, on this slate, like, I'm going to be pitching Valdez, Bieber, Wright, or Musgrove. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to be pitching Myers. I'm not going to be pitching Woodruff. I'm not going to be pitching Gilbert. Like, all those guys, the last three guys that I mentioned, they're okay for tournaments. I'm not saying you have to cross them off if you're making 150 teams, but I think I'm going to be just sticking right at those top four options.
And I think I am too.
And then see what I can do with the bats.
I think I am too, but I don't know who is like leading the clubhouse. Like when I was doing my rankings earlier, I'm just like, They're all just sort of like kind of the same. And like I think I might have put Valdez at the top and maybe Bieber at the top on FanDuel because of salary reasons. Woodruff didn't crack it just because he's in Coors, but like of course Woodruff could be the top guy. He's kind of
mute, Dean.
I am not on mute. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
I think Tim's headphones might have gone out.
Oh, okay.
Tim, can you hear me? Nope,
Oh.
you can't hear me. All right, Dean, go ahead and take over. I'll message him.
All right. So hopefully Tim will get the message. Well, yeah, Devin, you're gonna be all over it. Oh, Tim, can you hear me talking to you right now?
I can.
Okay, we're good to go now. Was it your earphones doing something funky? What's going on?
I have no idea.
For a second there, I thought it was just going to be me and Air Bud for the rest of the way, and that would be.
Right, I don't know what happened, but then I heard some really interesting music coming from something.
Do you have other pages open? Well, what's going on over there?
No, I got nothing open.
All right, I don't know. I have no idea, but I mean, Air Bud, the greatest athlete of our times. I'm not sure how he'd be as an analyst, and I did a terrible job cropping him in, but he's over my shoulder. If you can kind of see him, I believe he's dunking a basketball in that picture, not photoshopped at all. I don't know who my best pitcher is. It's a weird sort of thing. And like, I think I'm fine landing on Musgrove and Wright and Valdez and Bieber. DK wise, our ownership stuff is pretty condensed between 32 and 21% amongst those four. Bieber at the top at 32. This stuff is fluid. It changes, yada, yada. But as of right now, Bieber, leader of the clubhouse against Kansas City, good ballpark, bad lineup. Valdez and all his safety in the world. You got Wright in Oakland. 9.7K, meaningful difference, I suppose, from off of a Bieber. You say about $900. And then Musgrove, and we talk about Woodruff, who I think if you're running 150 lineups in like the big, 250K, 50K up top tournament, I'm okay getting like 5 to 10% of Woodruff, but certainly not prioritizing him. He's not been in the best form of late. And, the ballpark's not spectacular. Merrill Kelly's there, who's nobody's going to play, pretty talented, but, in theory, San Diego is supposed to be a good offense. Gilbert's pretty good pitcher facing an uneven Chicago lineup, but I don't have much else. Like I wish I can say, well, this guy is clearly separating from the rest, but I don't have that. It doesn't sound like you have that either.
No, I mean I'm leaning right now Bieber on FanDuel and then on DK Bieber and Wright. But I might go Bieber Valdez. I'm just not crazy about Valdez because he's going to be so high owned and he's super expensive and he just doesn't have like huge strikeout numbers. So it just gives me a little bit of pause for concern. That's all. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but I'm just a little bit worried that he's going to get, 20 ground balls and give up a run and strike out 4 and which is okay. But it's not like the elite ceiling upside that I would want from an 11K pitcher.
Mr. Richard in chat's asking about Quintana versus Washington on DK. How much is Quintana? Probably 78-ish?
78, I think.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I think he's in the pool, right? I'm not seeking him out, but he's okay. And Washington's whatever, and the ballpark's pretty good. And you feel like, in theory, the W is on layaway, assuming he pitches okay, but I wouldn't discourage it, but probably not something I'm prioritizing. I'd like to reach up with some of the other guys, but he's pool worthy, right?
Yes, he is pool worthy. Personally, if I'm in that price range on DK, I'd almost rather play Erod. But
okay.
That's a hot take. Maybe that's a bad play. I almost kind of like this Washington lineup today. Like Luke Voigt is super cheap. Lane Thomas is super cheap. Quintana doesn't really strike anybody out. So, I mean, he's got a below a 20K strikeout rate. And then against righties, it goes down to 17%. And this is a very right-handed heavy lineup. So I'm not totally on board with him, but I get it if you want to do it.
Herbert Good in chat is taking some cheap shots at Air Bud, and I will not stand for it. Air Bud sucks. At least admit that Air Bud might be the worst movie ever made. Like, at least admit that. There's been a billion movies made. Isn't like Room considered the worst movie ever made? Something they did like remake of the Make Any movie, or Ed Wood possibly. I don't know. These kind of things are up for debates. What's the word? Did you ever go to a movie theater and walk out and like mid movie and say that I can't? I just can't do it. I got to tap.
I don't think so. I would have liked to, but I don't think I've ever done it.
Yeah, I remember
the dog's going crazy, but my answer is B movie with
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld.
That was kind of a kids movie, wasn't it? Or kid/adult.
That's why I walked out, because I didn't realize it was a kids movie.
What did you think it was about?
I thought it was going to be like one of those fun Disney movies, you know?
Wait, this is actually about a bee? Oh, that's so funny. Did you not see the trailer? All right, fair enough. In the chat, tell me the movie. What's the movie? The worst movie you saw in the theater? The one you kind of walked out. I remember my brother telling me that he went and saw Weekend at Bernie's 2, and the entire theater left mid movie. But I believe he said he stuck it out the entire way. Waterworld, worst movie ever. I feel like Waterworld gets so much hate that it's probably not as terrible as it actually is. The Kevin Costner movie. Hoosiers Hang Banners reference Weekend at Bernie's 2 as well. Yeah, that's a popular answer. It's a disaster. Go ahead.
I liked Waterworld.
I don't remember it. I remember it was just like a punchline, and like obviously it was a financial disaster. It was a huge bust in the theater. They spent a bunch of money on it. Was it like Gina Davis also? Who was the female lead? I don't recall.
I don't remember. I mean, it wasn't great, but I thought it was. I went to walked out on it.
Tony said Gotti was the worst. Gotti was straight to like Amazon or something though, right? I don't think that was that also in the theaters? I'm not sure. I think that's available on the Amazon Prime or one of those. And I will not stand for Vanilla Sky hate. Aaron, Vanilla Sky is a fabulous movie. It's spectacular.
I really like that movie too.
Yeah. Come on. It's kind of I don't want to say divisive. I can see why you wouldn't like it, I guess. So you got to kind of buy into some stuff, I suppose. But I thought it was a really clever movie, Vanilla Sky. Really well done. Yeah. You ever see a Vanilla Sky, Devin? Are you on board? Are you going to sweep the board with Vanilla Sky?
Sorry, the dog's still going crazy in the room behind me. I don't think I've actually ever seen Vanilla Sky.
Oh, it comes recommended, at least from two of us. Does the dog see Air Bud in the screen? Is that what's going on? He's getting excited?
It must be. It's either that or the horn that's just stuck on outside my house.
No Holds Barred. First of all, No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan was a disaster. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible movie. Yeah, do not recommend that one. I'm sure it's like unintentionally hilarious. Richie Smalls walked out on Battlefield Earth. That's another one of those classic like disaster. That was the John Travolta movie. That's Forrest Whitaker was also in it. Financial disaster. Gili is another one. Yeah. Oh, Celtic Pride. That's when they kidnap, I think, Damon Wayans or something like that. They're Celtic fans. Are you aware of the plot here? Can I ruin it for you? It's been long enough. They're fans of the Celtics and they're in the playoffs. And I think Damon Wayans like plays for the Jazz. They just kidnap the best player in the Jazz, so they win. Daniel Stern and maybe Dan Aykroyd. Do you want to see this movie? Are you excited now? What do you think, Tim?
I've seen it. I've seen the movie.
Yeah. Right. I could have kept going.
I'm not going to watch it again, Dean. So stop trying to sell it to me.
Yeah. You know, Dan Marino was also abducted in Ace Ventura, the Pet Detective.
Yep. Those are my favorite movies as a kid. The Ace Ventura movies. I love those. You like the second one? You're a stand for the Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls? Oh yeah. I like When Nature Calls better. What? That's a what? You like the sequel better than the original? That is a bold proclamation. I do. With Tommy Davidson, I believe, is in it. Okay, fair enough. You got some Ace Ventura fans in the chat. George Clooney Batman movie, that was bad. Multiple people mentioning Howard the Duck, who I think is making a comeback. Like they kind of sprinkled him in. I know he's like popped up in some of the Marvel movies. I guess he's part of the Marvel universe, but he had his own movie in the 80s, and it was also a disaster. Shazam. That's where Shaq played a genie, right? I think so, yeah. I think I've seen that too. Anchorman 2 was bad. That was very disappointing. Caddyshack 2 was not good. I'm not a Caddyshack guy though. It's like that's not kind of. I love Caddyshack. I like Dangerfield though. He's in the first one, right? Yeah. I'm also a huge golfer, so I liked it. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't. Are you a Tin Cup guy? Mm-hmm. I like that movie quite a bit. The original Mortal Kombat was terrible. Yes, I believe it was. I think that's correct.
That was like in the 90s, I want to say. That was pretty bad. We have officially derailed the show, but what else is there to say as far as pitchers? Over the Top was spectacular. I mean, it's total cheeseball. Did you see Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone and he turns his hat around and it's like a truck?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
One. No.
Oh, there's in Vegas, there's a big over the arm wrestling challenge, and he's losing his son, and he's betting on himself to win the. You can bet on yourself, I guess. I guess it's legal for some reason to win the over the top arm wrestling challenge, and it's total cheese, but it was good cheese. At least when I saw it like a 10 or something. It's probably terrible now, but there you go. Some great names being thrown out in chat. Well done, chat. Some terrible, terrible good movies. We should talk about, I kind of floated it out there as far as the cheapy throwing baseballs against Detroit. Myers 4-8 on DK. He's grabbing ownership too. It's not like, he is the one that people are going to be scraping the barrel on, right? At least that's what I saw before. Let me double check what we have as far as ownership for him. Is he like not? Okay, we got him at 18% on DK. He's 4-8. Less useful, in my opinion, on FanDuel because you could still get good lineups with Bieber and Valdez and Musgrove and Wright. So I don't know how much
I wouldn't roster him on FanDuel.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of a pretty bad play.
I mean, he's 5'8" over there. Like you get everything you want, but also I don't think I need it.
Yeah, I think that's just too much opportunity cost you're giving up by having him be. No, I wouldn't do it on FanDuel.
What about DK? What's your official stance on him for DK?
I'm okay with it. He's probably like, I don't know. Let's see what the bat says. I mean, he's basically right in the middle of the road in terms of raw points on the whole slate for $4,800. So I'm okay with it. I haven't completely ruled him out. I want to double pay up at pitching. It's just, DK ruins the slate by making like
Milwaukee.
a lot of these Brewers guys so cheap. So it's like you can make really good lineups without pitching Myers. So it's just, I completely understand if you want to play him.
We have just gave a refresh as far as ownership. Want to see if things kind of changed, and not so much, not just yet. 4-8 on DK, 18%. Bieber still the number one guy at 32%. I'm sure Devin's got the lineup HQ tool up for the people. And I did see some extremes as far as pitchers and hitters umpires today. Extreme hitters umpire today. And what ballpark, if you're not playing Milwaukee, would you not want the extreme hitters umpire? Well, he's in Coors. And Bieber, for what it's worth, got the extreme pitchers umpire. I don't really know how to quantify that stuff. I mean, it's sort of nice to have, but I don't need it. Certain pitchers, I really want the guy that's going to help you out behind the plate. Like Erod, I want the guy that's going to give Erod the corners if I'm rostering him. But some pitchers, it just doesn't matter too much. The people like that information. Figure we throw it out to them. One extreme as far as hitters, that's in Coors. Extreme pitcher is Bieber. See people in the chat talking about, the Braves are kind of an interesting conversation. We'll talk about that as far as stacks because there's several good teams that are like just aren't in necessarily quote unquote great spots, but wouldn't be shocked if the Braves are the highest scoring team in the slate and they put up 12 runs, even though it's Oakland. We saw the Yankees put up 13 on Oakland a week ago or so, but no homers. That ballpark does suppress home runs, but also home runs are hit in Oakland. It definitely happens, and Irvin's not somebody I'm necessarily running away from. You got anything else as far as? Go ahead, chime in.
Yeah, I was going to say one more thing about Myers is that, we have him 19% owned and, he's got a 23% chance of being, in the top 1% of the winning slate. So, I mean, he does come with pretty decent positive leverage, which is nice. It's definitely goes in his favor in terms of rostering him. So I think he's okay. Like I said,
how concerned are we that he's not good? How concerned are we that he's not like very good?
Well, that is my primary concern.
Yeah.
But it's the Tigers, man. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's, to me, I just think that like the high end is so solid. like I wish that he was on a different slate where we didn't have these good pay up options.
Okay, so no official lineup yet just yet for Detroit, unless I missed it. Does that come out? I see we have our projected lineup on Lineup HQ or in the Plate IQ, and at least according to our projected lineup, it's all red with the exception of Carpenter, who's got a small sample. He's been good against righties and good for him, but he also, even when he's not hitting the ball, he's striking out 29%. We have a projected lineup striking out at 26.3%. Of course, Myers not spectacular. 21.3% is not great. The walk's a little too high at 8.3. But it's not the most patient lineup either as far as Detroit. Not a lot of power, not a lot of patience. He's, let's see, Myers has been really bad versus lefties. Man, the samples aren't huge, just what we have. But his ISO this year is 348. That's enormous. 404 WOBA as well. But that's 79 hitters. Again, grain of salt, I suppose. But again, not good. Wasn't he like a huge prospect at one point? I feel like he was, right?
I don't know, Dean.
Maybe I'm making that up. Now I got to peek this.
I'm not a good guy when it comes to prospects, unless it's like that season. You know, I forget who was once a good prospect.
Number 93 pick overall, third rounder in 2013. He's 30 now. He's no longer a prospect, but I feel like he was like years ago. Somebody was supposed to be something, and it just didn't really happen for whatever reason. So like there's pros and cons. I get it. But like it's kind of
if you're 150 maxing, I think the Tigers have some merit in having a sprinkler or two of stacks, because if it's bad Myers, you know, you're gonna wipe out 20% of the field, and you know you're gonna get some, and they're super cheap, so then you can pay up for whoever you want with hitters and pitchers on the rest of your team. So I think that
you can play with Brewers too. Like if you want to do that,
you can play, yeah. I mean, you could play them really with whoever you want. So they offer so much lineup flexibility. I'm not saying that I would do it in a 3 max, but in a 20 max or 150 max, I might have a pinch or two.
Just first glance, Green, Baez, Carpenter. Those are the 3 best, I would assume, off the dome.
Yeah,
Riley Green, Baez, Carpenter. I think that's the most appealing amongst what we have.
Well, and Candelario, right?
Okay.
I mean,
sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, and I'm not saying you need to full stack them, but I think you could do like a little skinny stack of them on FanDuel or DK.
Rockies lineup just came out. They put Iglesias on the IL as well too, so he's not in it. McMahon is leading off. Jonathan Daza, Crone, Blackman, Grichuk, Taglia, Diaz, Montero, and Trejo is the Colorado lineup versus Milwaukee. That seems like a pretty good lineup, by the way, for Woodruff, at least my first thought. We're not really rostering him, but I understand why you would in tournaments. More so in large field tournaments, not so much in like single entry, unless you're going to be crazy bold. But I understand why you would do that. I probably wouldn't. Give me the summary as far as the arms. Anything else we're saying? I don't see any other pitchers being thrown out in the chat. I feel like we've pretty much honed in on the ones that are worth talking about.
Yeah, right now I'm leaning Bieber on FanDuel and on DK. Then I'm gonna go to, I'm thinking Kyle Wright, but I haven't completely ruled out Vaz, Musgrove, and I haven't completely ruled out Myers either. If I really want to get, really want to give myself a heart attack tonight.
Well, you got some a PIR at least, if nothing else, right? You got some innings remaining.
Right.
Yeah, you got some hope. You got some false hope, although we can only do so much, and there's no pivoting away from that. Like, if you're in a certain spot and you're thinking move off it or move on, his price is going to prohibit any sort of shuffle, I imagine, at that point. But your boy Broccoli Boy, what up, Merrill Kelly? I think he's just somebody like I'm not going to pick on and I'm not going to roster, and that's that.
I would say that's fair, Dean. I have no interest.
All right. Give me your favorite stacks tonight. And again, everything is sort of like in context. And we talked about Milwaukee, and I'm sure you have this page pulled up in front of you as far as overall collective ownership. Is it fair to say, especially on DK, that Milwaukee is going to be the clear most popular team by a good distance?
I don't know if I've ever seen such a discrepancy between 1 and 2 on total.
What is it?
It's 129.11 and then the Dodgers are 55.57. I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger discrepancy in slate IQ with total ownership. I don't think it's wrong either. The Brewers are going to be once again overwhelming chalk on an 11 game slate. It's all about what you want to do with ownership. If you're playing cash games, if you want to look to just double your money or min cash tonight, play 5 Brewers. And hope that it hits. There's a good chance it will hit. Chad Kuhl is an absolutely terrible pitcher. But if you're looking to finish first in contests or want to take some shots, in a 3 max and just fade them, then just know that if they go off, you're drawing dead. So I'm probably going to be fading them on DK tonight because I'm playing 1 bullet in a 33 max tournament. But like I said, in cash games, you should probably be playing 5 Brewers.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
There's no reason to get cute or creative, and you're just doubling up, right? You just want to beat half the field. You don't necessarily. There's no pride in finishing number 1 in your cash game. If anything, you're upset, right. Or you better throw that cash game line up another contest.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know who's even playing cash games in September at this point. Like it's not a lot. I stopped playing them. And
the lobbies are decent for them. I mean, not as good as they were a couple months ago, but there's still some people out there that play them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. And then but the thing is, like, it's going to be a 2v2, right? It's going to be my 5 Brewers versus your 5 Brewers, and we might have 4 of the same 5, and then you might have Bieber and I might have Musgrove, whatever, like something like that. And what's the fun in that? Like, I don't want any part of that. You're talking 51-49 coin tosses, and you're just going to lose to the rake most likely. And it's a collectively sharp group of people that are still playing cash games at this point. So it's not worth messing with. It's just sort of my assessment. I understand why you want to do it. That's you want to do it. But all right, stacks. Milwaukee, highest team total on the board. Is it a full-fledged bullpen game out of San Francisco? Do we have a long man? We can assume. I know Berbia is going to be drawing the start there, but he's not going to go particularly deep. Who do we expect him behind him? Is this something we put thought into it?
Earlier, I saw the projected long reliever was Garcia.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the case or not. I've seen a couple different things come across the wire that I'm not sure. I don't want to sit here and say that I know definitively what's happening with the Giants rotation tonight. I've seen a few different things.
Even Garcia, by the way, not to cut you off, but he threw a third of an inning on the third, 1 inning on the second, 3 innings on the 29th. Like he's probably going to pitch with maybe an inning or so. Like it's just going to be a mixed bag, right? And like traditionally, we don't
that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be a bullpen game today. So I think that's the kind of route you should go down or the assumption that you should go down is that the Giants are going to be having a bullpen game.
Which typically, as a general rule, that's not appealing. It's the Dodgers, and you can always put the Dodgers, but like
they have a 6 total, Dean.
I know, doesn't that seem really high for a bullpen game? And again, you never really know what you're going to get. If the score is 7-1 in the third inning, you're going to get different arms out of San Fran as opposed to if it's a 3-3 game in the 6th or the 9th. You know what I mean?
I would agree with you. I would agree with you most of the time, but it's the Dodgers, and they're just they're almost like a video game in terms of their offense. So just up and down that lineup is so good, and they're not like the Giants where they just like start pitch hitting everybody. Like other than maybe like Gallo.
But they might if they're going lefty righty, and they're flipping pitchers at him every single inning, they might all of a sudden be forced into doing that. And they're a deep team too. They have a deep bench as far as hitters. Every night
they do.
Turner or Gallo sitting.
But I would say 7 out of the 9 hitters have almost no pinch hit risk.
Okay.
So that's my thought anyway. So I would stay away from Gallo. But other than that, I think that you're pretty safe.
White Sox lineup just came out. Elvis Sanders still batting leadoff. I'm so tilted about that over yesterday. Did you see the home run like hit up the fielder's glove and went over the? I did not play.
It, but I was so mad because I decided to play a 5-3 stack.
Yeah.
And of course, I stacked the Padres, who were awful.
Yeah.
And then I decided to play stupid David Fletcher, who is like the worst DFS play, and I could have played Andrews. And then I saw him.
Who thinks too, for the record.
I know, and then he hits a home run. I'm like, yeah, I'm dead. Like, it's over.
Elvis at least has like 10 homers this year, which is surprising. When I saw, I think it's 10 or 11. He has a surprising number of home runs. Like a couple homers ago, he hit it against a shortstop. Last night, it was aided by a fielder just knocking the ball over the fence, basically.
The only thing that Fletcher is good at is hitting the ball into the ground and not striking out. That's the only thing he's good at.
Terrible version of Luis Arraez, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
That's yeah. And I did talk about that in the show last night. I'm like, if I have Fletcher in my lineup, just understand I'm not going to be happy about it. And I did, and I wasn't happy about it. Then we had the Angels stack, and just terrible. He's probably leading off again tonight, for all we know, because again, you got to have him get more at bats than Mike Trout. The manager dictates that. that's a choice they're making. All right, I'll hold off my rants. Other stacks that are worth talking about. I'm going to pull up our stack rankings as of right now, and no surprise, like collectively, we all have Milwaukee number 1, right? And then it's kind of a mixed bag of St. Louis, the Dodgers, Houston, Atlanta, and that's basically. Is that who's cracking? Is that basically in Colorado? A little bit of Colorado love from Kirk D's. But Houston against Otto, the palindrome, he's not very good. The ballpark's not great, but like 2 lefty power guys. I think Otto's basically neutral as far as his splits, but that Houston lineup's pretty good. They did move Gurriel down. I believe Pena's batting second tonight. Atlanta, great lineup, bad ballpark, fine matchup. After Milwaukee, who's your favorite? If you want to factor in ownership and things like that, or are we even considering ownership for teams like Houston and St. Louis, Atlanta?
Ownership almost doesn't really matter after Milwaukee. Like, you've already become different enough by fading them. But if you full fade Milwaukee, you're already super different. So if you have a favorite stack that aren't the Brewers, don't worry about ownership. It doesn't matter. Even in like a 150 setting, like their Brewers are going to be so high owned that any way that you get off of them is going to be good enough to be different. I'm surprised that Toronto's ownership is this low. I know that Bradish has been good. I just think that Toronto has such a massive upside, and this kind of rates out as a good spot for them. I love Houston. St. Louis. It's probably St. Louis, Houston, and Toronto that are my favorite non-Brewer stacks.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, Bradish being reverse splitsy and facing a bunch of righty power. We saw Bichette, hit 3 homers yesterday. Nice to see his bat wake up. Teoscar, prefer him against lefties, but again, some reverse splits on the Bradish side. You got a solid catcher in Alejandro Kirk. Springer and Vladdy, they're pretty expensive. But I agree that Toronto's going to be kind of lost in this. Like, you're locked in for 9. I think Baltimore's got a pretty good bullpen these days.
They had to use a ton of it, though, yesterday, Dean. I'm not saying that they're not, like they're completely depleted, but they had to play, I think, a doubleheader yesterday. Lyles got scratched.
Yes. They had a long man go pretty deep for what it's worth. Like somebody
Zimmerman went 92 pitches yesterday.
Okay.
But then I think a couple other guys, maybe in the earlier game, had to go too.
Batista pitched much yesterday?
I don't know.
Well, if you see Batista, you're in trouble anyway, because he's like comes in for the save, and that means Baltimore's ahead like 7-5, and then your stats dead.
But that bullpen has been used pretty heavily the last two days.
So the site that I go for, I go to Baseball Press to find my bullpen stuff. It's not working currently right now, so we got to find Plan B. So I don't know who may not have pitched yesterday, looking for it in the fly. Everybody else is doing the same thing right now. They're trying to figure out the Baltimore bullpen, and the site has crashed temporarily. So, but yeah, like for sure, Toronto's got plenty of power. And I talked before about hating that ballpark for righty power. What are you going to do? It is what it is. Doesn't mean they can't hit it out. It certainly happens. We saw Bichette 3 homers yesterday. Home runs do go out in that ballpark, but they have been down this year because of the way they moved the fences back down the left field line. You want to go around the horn and give our fair plays position by position, see what else is coming up in the chat. By all means, feel free to, add to the conversation. We got 35 minutes, give or take, until
I do want to bring up St. Louis real quick. They're so stackable because they have these tremendous value pieces, and then they also have these like really, really expensive pieces. And Espinino is an awful pitcher that has kind of gotten away with it all season long. He's a pretty bad pitcher. So I really think that the Cardinals are a sneaky stack today. And I think that they could really break the slate if you're looking to, find a low-owned stack.
We talked about it yesterday with the Cardinals. Like, you love the Cardinals to pick on lefties. The next best option is to face a reverse splits righty, which they did. Anibal Sanchez, and is 47 years old, whatever he is, but he shut him down. And today, same scenario. Espino is not a lefty, but he's a reverse splits righty. And in theory, that should be good. Team total right around 5 or so. The ballpark's not great, but the lineup is pretty solid. No Yachty for what it's worth, and no Pujols. So I'm not sure where we have Gorman, but Gorman's a guy that could get the hook for Pujols. Just a thought. What is he, 4 or 5 away at this point? I think he's 4 or 5 away from 700.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many, but right around there. I mean, look at this ISO from Espinino against righties versus lefties. It's like 100 points higher. I mean, it's staggering how reverse splits he is. And it's kind of like the same exact scenario we were in yesterday, and the Cardinals let us down. And I feel like even fewer people are going to be going to them today. A, because the slate is bigger, and B, because if you played them yesterday, you're not going to want to go back. So I think this stack is going to be super low owned.
We dig at the Angels lineup. Fletcher is leading off with Trout, Ohtani, Ward, Duffman, Ford, Adele, Stassi, and Velasquez. And I don't know the arsenal of Espino, but like general rule, that means he's like a big curveball guy, right? If you reverse splits, I think that's the general rule.
Yes.
All right, let's go around the horn. Favorite plays, position by position. Don't have to roster a catcher on FanDuel. You certainly can. The option's there if you want to take it. DK, you do. You got to roster a catcher. Who do you like at the catcher position? I guess we can have the conversation as far as Milwaukee and like which, if you are playing 5 Brewers, that's something you're going to do. Would you use one of your Brewer spots for their catcher or not necessarily?
I probably would use the catcher from Milwaukee, Narvaez, in cash games, especially because McCutcheon's out. So that just takes one other bat that I would likely use in cash games, and I would probably just replace him with Narvaez. There's nobody like super low that I want to get to, other than maybe Jan Gomes, who's the dead minimum. But we've talked about how that's not really, the weather there is really bad for hitting. So I would not be spending up on catcher today in cash games. I think spending up in catchers for a large field tournament is a really good play. But for cash games, I'm going to be sitting right on Narvaez or Jan Gomes.
Best big spend, is it Alejandro Kirk, Will Smith, or Rutschman?
It's really, for me, would be a 50-50 between Smith and Kirk. It's really close between those two.
I see TJ in chat. TJ is in the green room and in the bullpen, coming in about 25 minutes or so. He'll be on the Crunch Time crew team with I believe it's Dave Potts as well as chief mineralogist Kevin Roth, taking you guys straight up the locker room to yield in about 30 minutes or so. But he did want to share, let's do a little synergy. Tell the people about his article, his Agents of Fandom. Well, no, wait, is that what it says? No, it's a different name. Has the name changed? TJ's top tournament takes. Didn't this used to be called like the Agents of Fandoms? Let me know, TJ. Now you're tripping me up. I feel like I'm losing it or something. He changed the title on me in the last month of the season, or it's a new article. He changed his whole article concept, but all right. Well, read it. Read it at your own leisure. Check out TJ's article, top tournament takes. It's a lot of T's. Can you say that 5 times? TJ's top tournament takes.
I can't. Don't ask me to do stuff like that, Dean.
Apparently, it's FanDuel specific for the sponsor. Okay, there you go. Fair enough. You still could have kept the same. Well, it's not my place to say. But yeah, check out TJ's article. You got anything else to say as far as catchers, or shall we move on and talk about the old first baseman?
I think you can play catcher on FanDuel tonight. Adley Rutschman is only $2,800. Will Smith is only $3K. Kirk is $3K. So I really think that those are good prices, and I think that they can be part of single entries and large field GPPs. I don't think you should completely write off catcher tonight on FanDuel.
All right, I'm pulling up the ownership. First base, Rowdy is going to have an incredible ownership, I think. Okay, so I don't agree with this number. I just don't agree with it. And again, it depends what tournament you're in as well. Come on, man, this can't be right.
Say?
For DK, maybe I'll give it a refresh. 17.94%.
And they do that for like the large field tournaments too.
Correct.
So
yeah, it's going to be higher in single entry.
It's still going to be higher than that, I bet, even in the large field stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the point is still the point. He's going to be heavily owned. How owned is he going to be? And on FanDuel specifically, where he's 3-1, which is kind of an egregious price. And you know what? The issue you had before the show, you're talking about ownership not showing up. I don't have ownership right now on FanDuel, according to the Plate IQ. I'll give it a refresh.
I haven't had ownership the whole show.
Oh, man, look at you. You're a pro.
I have never seen points per dollar projection on FanDuel on the bat over 5x points per dollar. Like Rowdy Tellez is projected for 5.22.
Yeah, median projection,
insane.
but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's insane.
Correct.
Yeah.
Man, we have Rowdy projected for less ownership than Keston Hiura. I know Keston Hiura second base is a little bit less competition, so maybe that's why people are defaulting there, batting sixth. My ownership came back for what it's worth. I can jump to the bat ownership too. We got 22% on Hiura.
I think RG kicked me out at premium.
Did you not read?
I think they're like, you didn't pay your bill. We're done with you. And I think that's what happened.
Did you ask for the swag and all of a sudden they're like, you're not swag worthy?
This is why I don't ask for stuff, Dean, because then RG canceled me.
It was a good run.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so I'm getting on FanDuel 16% ownership on Rowdy, which again, it's going to be higher than that. I feel confident saying that. You got a utility spot as well. It's going to be higher than that, right? Like it's higher.
Oh, it's going to be way higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be higher.
Give me the pivots at first.
I'm curious, Dean, on DK, what's Hira's ownership going to be?
Okay, so that's a good point because I see Michael in chat pointing out Milwaukee's got 2 first basemen. Are they both first base? Well, Rowdy's only first base. Is Hiura only first base as well?
Yes. On DK, on FanDuel, he's first base, second base. But I'm curious, what's his ownership going to be on DK?
That's a good question because people are going to default to Rowdy, understandably so.
Right.
But
right.
Hiura's 2.9. Man, that's one way to be different in your Milwaukee stack. And he's not like a bad play, it's the less optimal play, but it's I get it. I'm okay with that. We have 8% on Hiura for what it's worth, and Rowdy at 18. play
And we
IQ
both
stuff.
think that Tellez is going to be higher owned than that. I think he gets north of 20 in a large field setting.
Yeah.
Which might even bring Hira's ownership down. So is Tellez 4 or 5 times more likely to beat Hira? Maybe he is, but it's baseball. It's naturally high variance. So I think that he is worth definitely some consideration on DK.
You got any bets today, by the way? Are you betting anything legally in the States? Anything that pops out for you as far as player props or sides?
I don't. I have no bets today.
All right. I was just checking to see if there's any articles for the people, and I do not see any free articles on scores and odds. But, of course, for all your gambling and betting needs, feel free to check out sister channel scoresandodds.com. There are articles with it. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of football content's probably up now. But, check out scoresandodds.com. And I'm curious, what do you think in your big boy contest on DK? Your 2,500 buy-in, 250K, total. No, 2.5 million total prize pool, 1 million up top. Put a number on it. Well, what would you guess that Rowdy's ownership's there? Like 33%?
I was gonna say 25, but the bigger question is in the $3,300 FanDuel 3 max with 100 people on it. What's Rowdy gonna be owned?
At least 30.
At least. So that to me is like the bigger question is, do I want to eat the chalk in that smaller field contest? Or because in DK, I don't think I can play him, but on FanDuel, I don't, it's kind of even, he's going to be even higher owned. But at the same token, it's easier for me to win all the money in that contest. So it wouldn't shock me if I played Brewers on FanDuel, but I don't think I can eat all that chalk in that with one bullet in a 33 max on DK.
What is your favorite pivot away from Rowdy? If it's not Hira, his teammate, Goldie's more expensive, but like certainly, he's playable. You mentioned Vladdy a couple times, reverse splits versus Bradish. Freeman versus whatever gets thrown at him on the San Francisco side. Matt Olson revenge game, left on left. Nobody's going to touch that. Who's your favorite, like, next best guy when everything's considered?
On FanDuel, I love the Orioles today. They're
cheap.
They're super cheap. I mean, they're just ridiculously cheap over there. So I wouldn't mind playing Ryan Mountcastle over Rowdy Tellez. And that's the pivot that I'm considering, even in that 100-person tournament on FanDuel. Like, because I still want to pay it for pitching. So, I mean, I can't just load in Vlad or Goldie or whatever, like, as much as I'd like to. The pivot's going to have to be somebody, like, around 3K or a little lower. So, I'm thinking it's going to be Ryan Mountcastle.
Or it could be Rushman, or you can play them both, obviously. But Rushman also catcher/first base, 2.8K seems too cheap. Mitch White, not afraid of. And you mentioned the prices overall. Santander's 3K. Gunnar Henderson still cheap at 2.8. And Mullins leading off at 3.1. I like that Baltimore side as well when you factor in the asking price. Maybe a little Baltimore mini stack, maybe even 4. I don't think 4 Baltimore.
That's what I'm thinking. For FanDuel anyway, they're too overpriced for me. The way that I'm going to be building my pitchers on DK, they're just too expensive. But on FanDuel, their prices are really cheap.
Anything else of note worth saying as far as first, or shall we move on and talk about second base?
I think we can do second.
You guys are in the chat. Feel free. If we're missing somebody, you want us to talk about somebody, by all means, throw them out there. If they're pertinent to the conversation, I'll probably bump it up to the top. Happy to oblige the next 20 minutes or so before we yield to the crunch time crew. We do have plenty of time, so whatever questions you have, and just general strategy questions. Tim's, you want to pick his brain and see what he's thinking. This is it's just good to understanding what contest you're entering. I know it sounds like a simple concept, but it's so important. And you shouldn't just be like, don't just hit the optimize button, or don't just hit give me 4 of these guys and 4 of these guys, and that's that. Use your brain and understand that the contest you enter matters so much for a multitude of reasons.
I hope we touch on that with football too. about contest type because the football lobby is so like much bigger than any other sport, and there's so many other things to choose from that contest selection is, I think, the most important thing to manage your bankroll. So it's I hope that we can touch on that at a later date.
So I just saw this is like a segue to the RG schedule that was released today, and I was taking a peek at it. The show that I'm most looking forward to listening to from a football perspective, there's going to be a Friday show with JM to win, super sharp guy, used to work at RG, and then Squirrel, who's been to a billion live finals, and it's a single entry strategy show specific, and that's the stuff I love, and I can't. If like it's all good stuff, right? And it's great to hear a variety of opinions, but that's the show I'm going to be for sure tuning into. And I love like the 1,500 single entry contests, for football. Those are like my favorite, and or the 3 entry max, that kind of thing. And some people are too ambitious in those contests, right? It's just they feel like they have to get like everybody under 5%, and you don't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the Millie makers are they're like scratch off tickets. Like, yes, you can get super ambitious in those, but in the other contests, you don't have to be like that. And people just they just do that, and I think that's not a wise play.
Let's see, Josh in chat. Who's the pay down pitcher on DK? I mean, it's Myers, right?
Yeah. You're gonna have to absorb some risk. It's not a safe play. If you want someone in the mid range that's a little bit more expensive, I would prefer Erod, but projection systems like Quintana better. But if you really want to go way down, it's Myers.
We'll get to second in a second, but I think it's just worth talking about it. And I think you have it up in front of you. You've kind of referenced it a couple of times, the Slate IQ. And Big Show Brandon wants to know, let's talk about Slate IQ and the thoughts on the Cubbies. And I am conflicted because they're really cheap and they're facing a pitcher who's given up almost 3 homers per 9. But it's not a great ballpark environment. And we talk about how that ballpark, the weather is more affected in Chicago than any other ballpark. And even Weather Edge is saying it's bad. But that doesn't mean that they can't hit homers off of Dunn. Like Reyes in the outfield on DK is 2.8. Like that's real. I know he's had a down year and whatever. But when he gets a hold of it, it doesn't matter half the time. The rare occasion he gets a hold of it. What do you have? Do you have thoughts as far as the Cubbies? Because I'm kind of conflicted. I get it both ways.
Is Roth coming on after this?
I believe so, yes.
So what I would do is I would really just straight up ask Roth, do you expect those wins to be the same throughout the game? If they're going to be the same throughout the game, then I really don't like anything to do with Wrigley Field today. If he thinks that the winds are going to die down or change direction throughout the night, if he can even forecast something like that, I don't know. But if he can, then that changes a lot. That's my take on it. Because right now, I really trust that sample size and Weather Edge, and I trust how sensitive Wrigley is to wind. Just by, from watching baseball every day for the last, however many years.
The counterpoint is that Dunn's ability to assist homers might balance that out.
Yeah, I guess. But it's still the Cubs. It's still the Cubs we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. It's bad versus bad.
It's not like Aaron Judge is going into Wrigley today. So it's not. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Cubs just in general. So I'm trying to think, like, if I'm building 150 today, how many Cubs stacks I'd have? Not many.
I'd have some.
Maybe 5 to 10 in a 150 setting, but I wouldn't have any in a 3 max setting. I wouldn't have any in a single entry.
I might like have a little mini Cub stack. I don't know, man. Just looking at Dunn's numbers, I know the sample's not huge, but it's what we have. 341 ISO versus righties is enormous. Even 289 ISO versus lefties. Tons of fly balls.
Those fly balls, though, man, they're going to be eaten by that wind.
Yeah, maybe. Or like instead of going 12 rows up, it goes 2 rows up. But yeah, I hear you. That's why I'm conflicted. But
I mean, that's true. Yeah, it's true.
give me your thoughts as far as second.
So, an interesting kind of dilemma on FanDuel is: do you want to go here or Wong for cash games? My lean is to go to Wong because Hira he seems to just strike out all the time. So for cash games, I'd rather go Wong, but here's fine too. For tournaments,
I think Muncie's also in that conversation, right? At 2-4 for Muncie.
Yeah, but it all depends. It goes back to that same kind of conversation we were talking about earlier. How many Brewers do you want in cash, and which 4 Brewers are you going to be using on FanDuel? So you can't use McCutcheon. You're probably not going to be using Narvaez on FanDuel.
You're going to have Rowdy.
You're going to have Rowdy. You're going to have Yelich. You're going to have Renfroe. Okay, and then who else? Maybe.
If I have money, I want Adames. I don't know if I have money for it though.
Yeah. So if you have the money for Adames, then you can go down to Muncie and you can just bypass that whole second base situation. But yeah, you're right. On FanDuel, Muncie is just dirt cheap. But it all depends on which 4 Brewers you want to use.
What about DK? Your thoughts?
Well, Colton Wong's the easy play, definitely. I really like Houston today. I don't think I can get up to Altuve, but I'd like to. Second base is just gross. You know, there's nobody that really is just jumping out. Chris Taylor, but I mean, I'm not crazy about it. He's projected to bat 8th.
Lineup just came out. He's batting 8th. Betts, Trey Turner, Freeman, Smith, Muncie, Justin Turner, Gallo, Taylor, Bellinger. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I wouldn't mind getting to a couple Dodgers, but that's just, it's pretty ugly. The bats liking some of these cheap Tigers, which I talked about earlier for like a leverage play, but no way that I would do that in cash games. So I think that that those are just for large field tournament plays only.
What does our ownership say for second base? Yeah, it's going to be on Wong and DK. We're looking at the 23%. I feel like, and again, I don't have my page in front of me, that the 2 Colorado longmen have not gone in a couple of days that are lefties, Bloch and like the 6th man that was like kind of their starter.
Gomber.
Yeah, I feel like those guys haven't gone in several days, so we could see, a lefty go out there and throw 3 innings, depending on if things get ugly. If Milwaukee puts up a 7 spot early, then we're going to probably see one of those lefties. Again, I don't know how much that matters. Just, it's hard to predict those situations, but that may happen.
I think the bottom line for second base on DraftKings, it's like really it's part of your stack, right? Whoever you want to stack, throw, you know what I mean? It's just, there's not one play where I'm like, yeah, this is a great tournament pivot. There's really nobody that I have a lot of conviction about other than you're playing Colton Wong, in your lower risk type contests.
I love Altuve by the salary for it. I'm not sure if I will. And Gunnar Henderson, I feel like he's been up for a week and he's been a second baseman, a shortstop, and a third baseman.
Oh, I forgot about him. I forgot that he's second base now.
He's second, third. He was short.
You're right. Yeah.
He's jumping all over the place. I don't know what he's actually playing. I feel like he's playing multiple positions, but that's just weird. They can't land anything. They can't figure it out on DK.
So
what do you have as far as
He's a really good pivot on DK.
Yeah.
I forgot that he was even second baseman. And Brandon Donovan for the Cardinals. Like, he's $2,800.
Batting second.
I think that he's a good pivot also.
Madrigal's leading off versus Dunn. He's 2.3K. I feel like he's a pinch hit risk off the top of the head. Possibly.
No, it's not pinch hit. It's just
he's bad.
He's bad. Yeah, I mean he's got no. I don't think he has any power. He's got he's like David Fletcher.
What an insult. And by the way, like, not for nothing, like, who cares? The Cubs are just playing out the string, but like, why is Morel again batting ninth for this team? Like, he actually has some speed, he has some power. Like, what is going on there?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Madrigal has a 0% pitch hit risk.
Okay, so never mind.
So I'm not worried that's not the concern. It's just I think there's just better plays out there for the cheap.
Yeah, best power hitter in the Chicago lineup today by far when it comes to ISO is Morel this season. 210 ISO, Haps got 188. Madrigal a 40, which is, you know, when it's a 2-digit number, it's generally bad.
Yeah, it's real bad. He's really bad.
Oh.
What's his strikeout rate?
13.7%. So I guess that's why they lead him off. He'll just pop out the ground out.
So he really is just David Fletcher.
59% ground ball rate, 16% fly ball rate. Yeah, he's just sitting a bunch of ground balls.
Yeah,
good for him. Third base. What do you got?
I'm trying to think. Like Jose Ramirez. We haven't talked much about the Guardians, but I think they're at a pretty decent spot against Bubich today.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like the lower parts of that lineup aren't great, but I think that Ramirez makes for a really decent, really good one-off if you can get there. I have no interest in the Padres or the Braves today, which kind of takes me away from Riley Machado. Did Peterson make the lineup?
Jace Peterson for Milwaukee. Let's check. I think he did, but want to confirm. Yeah, he's batting 7th. I think he's a pinch hit risk, by the way.
He definitely is. He comes with like around 20% pitch hit risk, but he's fine. He's fine for tournaments, though. He would not be one of the 4 Brewers that I play in cash games, but he's fine. He is fine for tournaments. I really like Alex Bregman today. If I can get up that high, and then of course you can play Muncy at third on Fanduel. So that kind of, we don't have to worry about him at second base. You could just punt with him at third because there are no Brewers to play at third base.
Kindly hit that like button if you guys are hanging out, waiting for the Crunch Time crew to come out in about 5 minutes or so. Subscribe so you know like when a billion NFL show is going to be starting as well. And of course, we're going to be playing out the string as far as baseball. Still about a month left in the season. Let's jump to short. Who do you like at shortstop tonight?
If you have the money, Willie Adames is 100% the play. I think Trey Turner is an exceptional pivot off of Adames. Same with Bo Bichette is the same kind of idea, similar price at a fraction of the ownership. Javier Baez on FanDuel continues to be dirt cheap. So Ahmad Rosario on FanDuel, 2,400 I think is a great play. Jeremy Pena is again another cheap shortstop on FanDuel. I really like the Astros today. It's really come down for me. It's going to be Houston or Toronto for my DK lineup. I'm not sure which one at this point, but
you can play them both. They can go 4-4, maybe.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm leaning towards Milwaukee on FanDuel and then getting crazy on DK. But
kind of a hedge, like not all in on Milwaukee, but not all out. But if they're doing well, you're still live somewhere.
Yeah, and also it's just about I feel like I can win that FanDuel contest. You know, like I feel like that's like I don't have to get as crazy with 100 people in the tournament. You know, whereas I'm gonna have to go crazy to win the Millie on DK with 1,100 people in it.
Looks like it's 3 entry max, by the way. I'm seeing. I guess you probably looked at it already. I'm looking at the players in there, and it hasn't officially sold out just yet, for the record, but I assume it's guaranteed. Just a 9% rake, 14 spots waiting to be claimed. So there you go.
Yeah,
jump in. The water's warm.
I just don't think I'm going to have to be as crazy in that tournament.
There you are. I see you. Tasteful Tides. Let's do it. How about the outfield? Who's popping for you in the outfield tonight? We talked about McCutchen not playing, but of course Yelich is back in the lineup with his neck. We got Renfroe as well. The studs are still doing their thing. Ohtani went off last night, left on left again, and people weren't going to play him tonight. You got Trout as well. Who are you liking as far as outfielders this evening?
I would prefer Renfroe over Yelich, even though I know that the bat disagrees with me. I'm not convinced that Yelich is completely healthy, but that obviously he could easily go for 30 fantasy points today. So they should be part of your cash game Brewer stat. Dave Potts alluded to wondering if Alvarez was healthy. And of course, yeah, right. I mean, that's a pretty big injury for a hitter. So I want to get to this Houston stack, but that makes me a little bit nervous. Like I'm not really sure if he is healthy. So
you could stack Houston without him, though, right? Like I'm okay doing that. Theoretically, you want him, but like it's okay.
Absolutely, you absolutely could. I really like Cedric Mullins on FanDuel. I'm probably going to be rostering him. I can't send Anthony Santander. Is he? I'm trying to find him.
Yeah, he's playing today. He's in the lineup. Fairly certain. I think he's batting batting third versus White.
Yeah, he's only 3K on FanDuel. So I just really like the prices on Baltimore today on FanDuel. I'm definitely going to get some exposure to them over on that site. You can of course go back to the Angels against Erod. It's just I kind of like Erod today for tournaments, but I could see that game kind of going either way, as they
What's
say.
His price?
Trout is 5,600 on DK and 4,100 on FanDuel.
No, Erod I meant. Like I haven't really considered. Is he like in the 8s or something?
No, he's 7,400 on DK.
Okay.
And I just like him better than Quintana, just in that price point. But that's such a kind of a risky kind of dead range for me on DK. I'd rather just double pay up or go all the way down to Myers. But we did get a question about Quintana earlier, so I did just say that I preferred Erod better.
Is Yelich the best fade on that Milwaukee side? Like you said, he's dealing with the neck. They're battling for playoff spots. I think Milwaukee's kind of sort of 50-50 at this point. 53% to make the playoffs if you trust 538. The power has been bad like all year, right? Like 149 ISO on the season versus righties. We're projecting probably one of those lefty long man to come in against him. He's been terrible versus lefties this season. Look, I mean, he can go out there and hit a home run in his very first at bat and like whatever, there's point to the scoreboard. But if you're going to get away from one of these Milwaukee guys, who's your, I don't want to say favorite, who's the one you feel most comfortable like being under the field on?
I'm not crazy about Adames' price on DK, like 5,500. Even if he hits a home run, that's not going to crush you if you don't have him. But I agree with you about Yelich. I do have some concerns about his health. He's not really like the power hitter that he once was. So a good way of getting contrarian is leaving off of some of these extremely high-owned Brewers. It doesn't mean that you have to completely fade the Brewers, but you can still, you get some leverage off the field by keeping them off your stack.
It was like 3 or 4 years ago when he had his MVP season or MVP-like season. I don't know if he got the MVP. He was in the conversation, but I remember his home run the fly ball rate was like 40% or something insane. And like analytics people were like, just like, they didn't know what to do with that. And he's still not hitting fly balls. Like the home runs have gone away, but his fly balls this year at 25.4%, right? So it's hard to hit home runs when you're not hitting fly balls, and he's not hitting fly balls. Therefore, it's hard for them to hit home runs. And I've mushed him enough where he's going to double dong tonight. There you go.
Right, exactly.
We have TJ in the chat saying 125 likes for the Spidey Bomb. Not sure where we're at, but TJ, we got Spidey warming up in the bullpen as well as Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Remind me to ask Roth, or you ask Roth about Chicago. I'm sure.
Well, I'm here, so ask me what you like.
Go ahead, Tim.
So I saw your weather edge about Wrigley Field today.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that forecast is going to stay throughout the evening?
I would not. The one thing that Weather Edge does is that it takes a snapshot of what the conditions are right at first pitch. And in this case, it should be 8-mile-per-hour winds blowing out at first pitch. But by the middle of the game,
blowing out or in?
Coming in, blowing in.
Okay.
Did I say blowing out? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Blowing in at 8 miles per hour. But by the middle of the game, it's 5 miles per hour. By the end of the game, it's 3 or 4 miles per hour. So what Weather Edge shows at the start of the game is going to be the strongest of the winds, and then it will gradually taper off as we go through the game.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, does it still matter? Yes, because it's Wrigley. I wouldn't care literally at all if it was anywhere else. But it's not as pronounced as it looks because it will taper off.
Dave, are you as conflicted as me as far as the Cubs? Like, we're done. It's bad versus bad. Dunn yields a ton of homers, and the Cubs are terrible. And they also do their best to make a bad lineup. Like, Morel batting ninth is just weird to me. Madrigal leading off. Sure, you got to lead about Madrigal these days. What are you doing with the Cubs, man? I don't know what to do with this team because they're cheap, and in theory, they should have some home run ability against Dunn. I'm conflicted. Help me out.
It's easy to be conflicted. I am officially playing the Cubs. Dunn is just too bad not to. It really is. It's not perfect, but nothing outside of Milwaukee is perfect.
Yeah.
And we don't want to just play all the Milwaukee in the world. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but like DK is incredibly tricky with everything that's good is way more expensive than Milwaukee. So you can go cheap and play nonsense against bad pitchers, like the Cubs, which I think is good nonsense.
I'm just now realizing that Aristides Aquino is in the lineup at 2K on DK against Miley. And, oh, man, if he hits the ball, which is a big if, but if he does, he can theoretically put one on what is that? Is that Waveland? What Sheffield? Waveland? Is that the Avenues? That sounds right, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to hit baseballs or not. What's up, Roth? Everything good in your world?
Yeah, man, life is good. Yeah, no complaints. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm myself and Tim. I believe our time is spent. Tim, you got anything else with the boys, or shall we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
No, I'm good. Thanks, guys.
All right. TJ, grovel for those legs. I don't know if we're at 125. I know Spidey's warming up in the bullpen. Let him know. Did we get a Spidey bomb yesterday or no? Were you not on the show yesterday? I don't recall.
Spidey bomb did not hit yesterday. The inaugural did Spidey bomb hit in chat with me here, and it did not hit. So, now that we got somebody recording them and we're 0 for 1, I think it's time to get a little less sneaky and a little more statistically sound.
There you go. Well, Judge got canceled. So you can't play him today. There's no Aaron Judge. The Yankees are not playing, so it's a little bit tougher for you. But all right, Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time, starring Chief and Roth, Kevin Roth. You got TJ as well, 2-time millionaire winner Dave Potts. Cheese is good. Roth, it's all yours. Take us home.
Appreciate it, Dino. As always, wonderful stuff from the GrindersLive crew. And now this is it. It's Crunch Time. It's sponsored by FanDuel, as Dino mentioned. And it is, in my estimation, the most glorious 35 to 40 minutes of your day. Hey,
Of
don't
your
forget,
life.
this is of your life, of your whole. We do it every day, so if it's of your life. We're really putting a high bar for this particular show. Hey, if you haven't signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook, you should. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their fantastic bonus offer. You bet $5, you win $150, whether your bet wins or loses. Doesn't matter. You bet $5, you win $150. That is my kind of betting right there. Terms and conditions, of course, do apply. So make sure you are getting on that. Joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheese is Good. Cheese, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, my daughter brought home a huge bag of bagels from Panera. She works at Panera, and so I have like 100 of those amazing like cinnamon sugar bagels. So when the day starts off like that, I mean everything's great.
What a perk. I didn't realize that they got to take home bagels.
If you work the night shift, you do. And she usually doesn't. But yeah, she came home late at night with all this stuff. I was like, did you just rob the store and quit? Or just like, no, this is night shift stuff. So anyway, really good slate. Got the cancellation early enough to not have to worry about it. And yeah, good times.
Yeah, there are all kinds of weird food rules where you think like, oh, we have a surplus of food at all these places, and we have all these people who are, hungry or, food challenged, and you can't just give away the food for some.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It's insane how much food gets thrown.
There's a
away.
lot of red tape. Actually, yeah, my wife works with the food bank to get, and like there's all these, you have to jump through hoops to donate food. It's crazy.
Yes, it's absurd. Yeah, it is absolutely absurd. But anyways, that's not why people are here. They're here for your takes, and they're here for TJ's takes and his Spidey bombs or his Spidey bust. But we're getting a Spidey bomb today. TJ, how you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling really excited about my Spidey bombs, and I'm headed to Chicago tomorrow night. And so all is good in life, and I'm excited to dive into the slate. We're 25 likes from the first Spidey bomb, 50 from the second one, and I'm feeling good about the people. They're going to hit the like button, and we're going to give away some good plays.
I like it. Do you know if or who else is going from RG that's going to be in Chicago, if anyone else is?
Yeah, we got Squirrel, of course, has tickets to the live final. And then
yes, tickets, plural, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Christy, aka Creighton, is going to be there as well. And then Dre's going to be there covering it, as well as Andy. So we'll see Andy, Dre, Squirrel, and Christy, and we're going to have a good time.
Is Andy, is that Means?
Yeah, Meansy.
Oh, I'm literally never.
Andy?
Who the hell is Andy?
Ever since I continuously he's the head of content now, and ever since I've continuously messed up times for things and work logs, he is Sir Andrew Means to me right now.
Yeah, he's my boss too. So he is indeed Sir Means. Well, that's awesome. I'm sure that is going to be a blast. So have fun with that. We're pumped for you. And we're pumped for this slate. Real quick, what's going on with this slate, Cheese? Because we've got a bunch of games that start in like 5 minutes. They just don't count.
Right. Yeah. We just those first 3 games that you see are not part of the slate.
It's so, I feel like almost always, if there's 3 games, they make them,
they would, except there's still 12 after it. So like if it were a smaller late slate, then they would combine them.
That explains it. Thank you. Okay, quick weather update here of the games that matter. The only one I'm really watching is Baltimore. And when I say really watching it, I mean there's a low chance of a late start. Like just hey, warm-ups got interrupted late. I shouldn't say that. Do we want pitchers, Cheese?
No, that is just bets.
Okay, just play bats. There's some rain around. There's some spotty showers. I can't rule out a delay, but there's just not enough rain to worry about or fade. So just play what you want. And then West Coast games are still hot. It's still hot out there. I think they've hit the over in every one of those games recently. And I don't know what the over-under is on these West Coast games today, but it's hot and it's good hitting weather. So, feel free to take advantage of that. Geez, tell me what you're doing on this slate here overall or just pitcher-wise.
Yeah, we'll start with pitchers, but big picture is the Brewers in Coors Field against a terrible pitcher. Brewers are super mega chalk. And really it's all about deciding what you want to do with that chalk.
But that's good chalk.
It's good chalk.
In Coors against a bad pitcher. That's yummy chalk.
And it's a very different thing. On FanDuel, you can afford the really good pivots. On DK, the only teams who compete for the upside of Milwaukee are way more expensive. So it's tougher to get different on DK, a little easier on FanDuel. But we will talk about that.
Can I add that it's 91 degrees right now in Colorado, and there's about a 10% increase to home runs, not just like compared to all places, 10% over normal Colorado, which is already
it's a really scary fade. I mean, it's the perfect spot for them. Arguably the worst pitcher on the slate, arguably the worst bullpen on the slate, not arguably the best hitting conditions in the best hitting park, with the team that happens to rank first in the league in ISO against righties. I mean, it's a scary fade.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's talk about pitchers. I imagine you're not going there in Colorado, but tell me what you are planning on doing.
All right. So with Cole postponed, we have Bieber, Valdez, Musgrove, and Kyle Wright as kind of the 4 aces, with Logan Gilbert kind of right in there after them. I think on FanDuel, Bieber is the guy and the chalk. Although I really do like Wright pretty much as Bieber, and really Valdez and Musgrove extremely close. Like the difference between those 4 guys is razor thin. And I think you should just split them up, honestly. But Bieber is on top. If you want to know who's the best guy, I would say Bieber first. On FanDuel, you really do not need Mike Mayers. He is crazy cheap, but like the bats are so cheap. I think that is just not a FanDuel necessity at all.
Right.
On the DraftKings side, it's different because if you want to fade the Brewers, your choices are cheap nonsense teams or go cheaper at pitching, probably with Mike Mayers as the chalk. And then you can get the Dodgers or the Astros or the Cardinals or these teams that cost you to spend up. Otherwise,
so literally everyone who's not playing the Brewers is going to have Mike Mayers pitching.
Right. It's going to be this weird ownership thing where it's like, 40% Brewers and then 40% of the other lineups will have Mayers. And he's not, he's not good chalk, but he's 4,800 against Detroit. And he's really the only way to get like a high-end Dodger stack or a high-end Houston stack. But if you're not doing that, which includes Brewer stacks, you can get 2 of Bieber, Valdez, Musgrove, and Wright, and maybe go down to Gilbert in some of those. And that is the entirety of my pitching pool. It's those 5 up top, and then it's Mayers on DK. And personally, I am done at that point.
Wow. Okay. All right. TJ, I want to bring you in here. There's a lot of pitchers not named or that Cheese is not playing. That's a somewhat condensed pool. Are you in the same boat?
Same boat, but my boat's a little bit bigger. We're heading to the same destination, but I'm including a few more passengers. Shane Bieber is my favorite one. He's the one I think is most likely to succeed. But even on FanDuel, I am willing to consider Mayers, and I wrote this up in my article. I posted it in chat earlier. You can find it up on the MLB page as well. It's FanDuel specific, and the reason I wrote up Mayers is because although we have a lot of top-tier pitchers, I don't know how high the ceilings of these top-tier pitchers are. And so if they're scoring 45, 50 points, I'm comfortable with that fade if Mayers can get 35. If they're scoring 60, 70, absolutely not. I just want to play the top pitchers. But Bieber hasn't shown the same strikeout upside as he has in the past, and Casey has a few dangerous hitters in there. If he puts up 45, 50, I'm not quite as concerned. Valdez is a great ground ball pitcher, not quite as high of a strikeout rate, not quite as concerned. Kyle Wright's going to be my favorite option for tournaments, and I think if you're playing lots of lineups, I think you can even include Brandon Woodruff in Coors. Nobody's going to be playing him. He's 2% owned. If you're playing 150 lineups, if you're playing even 50 lineups, I think you throw a couple Brandon Woodruff teams in just because even though it's a terrible spot from a ballpark and weather standpoint, from a matchup standpoint, it's definitely not bad at all. And Brandon Woodruff, even though it's not likely because of the downside, does have potential to break the slate.
Okay. Any other names you want to bring up here pitcher-wise?
I think Logan Gilbert's okay too, but my pool's basically going to be the same as Cheese's. I am going to play Mayers on FanDuel, and I think you can include Woodruff too.
Okay, very nice. Good stuff, guys. So let's talk about some stacks, and TJ, you can lead us off. Okay, there's Milwaukee in Coors. It's the chalk. It is good chalk, but are you nibbling or are you putting it down?
I'm playing one lineup today on FanDuel, so me personally, I'm putting it down. If I was running 150, I would not be. I would be getting an absolute ton of the Brewers, but in the one single lineup today I'm playing on FanDuel, I'm not going to be rostering them. I'm stacking 2 other teams. Both of the Spidey Bombs are from those 2 teams, so make sure we're hitting the like button to get that. We're 8 away from the first one. It's the Brewers up here, and then it's everything else from a projection standpoint. And because it's baseball, you can roll with everything else. Like if I'm playing Shane Bieber, I don't think I want to play the Brewers with them. But if I'm on FanDuel, I'm playing Kyle Wright or I'm playing Brandon Woodruff or somebody else that's a little sneakier, then yeah, I'm good with still playing the Brewers. But the other teams I like to pivot off of them, I love Atlanta. I love Toronto. I love the Dodgers. The Dodgers have almost I guess relative to the slate, almost as high of a total as Milwaukee does today, and they're getting like less than half of the ownership. So I love the Dodgers, and then throw in Atlanta, Toronto, St. Louis is another team I like getting to quite a bit, and Houston and the Angels would be my last 2 teams on the board.
Okay, Cheese, talk about some of your favorite stacks. I feel like it might be some of the same because you mentioned you liked some of these higher priced good teams.
Yeah, my 3 favorites to get off Milwaukee are the Cardinals, the Astros, and the Dodgers. And they're super expensive on DK. Although the Cardinals have enough cheap pieces to make it work. And then I like both Toronto and Baltimore a little bit. And then more for the DK side for salary reasons. I think you can play the Cubs are very interesting. Honestly, even teams like the Tigers or the Nationals, who are like terrible teams, are so cheap. You can stack them, get 2 aces and 3 studs around them. So I don't mind those.
Okay, excellent. Let's go position by position. We'll start at catcher. Cheese, lead us off.
We have 3 superstar hitters at catcher.
Ooh, that's fun.
And then we have Omar Narvaez chalk. To me, yeah,
Is
salary.
He one of the superstar hitters?
No.
Thanks.
So he's more than $2,000 cheaper than the 3 superstars, and so he's going to be chalk. But this is why I think this is why I want to play Mayers. Is I can play Kirk, Smith, or Rutschman. So then Narvaez, yes, please. And then I would even be okay to pivot off of Narvaez to something like Keibert Ruiz or Max Stassi or even Jan Gomes, or kind of in the middle with Contreras and Raleigh. But Kirk, Smith, and Rutschman are fantastic. Spend up for them on DK, and they're way too cheap on FanDuel, so you can play those guys in the first base slot.
Okay. TJ, catcher?
Same boat. If I'm going to get off of one of them, for me, it would be Alejandro Kirk. But I think my favorite option at catcher today is William Contreras for tournaments. He's not the Spidey Bomb, but I think he's very likely to hit a home run facing a lefty who doesn't strike out anybody at all. I really, really like William Contreras today.
Okay. Take me to first.
First base, we got Spidey Bomb number 1, and this was planning on being the second one, but I'm confident that the people are going to hit the necessary 19 more likes to get the second one by that position. And so Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is Spidey Bomb number 1 today. But you got Rowdy Tellez as the chalk and the clear best play. Keston Hiura is at that position on FanDuel as well, but you play him at second base. You don't play him at first base there. And Tellez is a phenomenal play. As you can see in the projections, we got him 3 points higher than anybody else there. And so I'm not going to tell you not to play Tellez, but just be wary of the rest of your lineup if you do. Freddie Freeman, I love in tournaments. Paul Goldschmidt, I love in tournaments. Matt Olson, you can play in the lefty-lefty. But my favorite is going to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then in the same game, if you want a cheap play, I don't mind Ryan Mountcastle as a one-off.
Okay. Cheese, you want to take me to your favorite first baseman?
Yep. Tellez is what they call magical chalk in the magical chalk kingdom. But I mean, I don't know. You can't just play him everywhere. I mean, you can, and you might win that way. But where possible, I want to spend up. Again, like I'm going to mention these expensive guys as to get different off of Milwaukee, which at some point you run out of money. But Goldschmidt, Ohtani on DK, Freeman, and Vlad are all pretty fantastic. There was something cheap. I don't know what it is. Luke Voigt. Not because he's good, but because he's cheap. DK only.
Okay. All right. Second base.
So we've got Brewers chalk at every position. Hira on FanDuel, Wong on DK. On FanDuel, Muncy is 2,400, and I think he's a better play than the Brewers. And then on DK, like Brendan Donovan, 2,800, and Gunnar Henderson at 33, I think are better plays than the Brewers. So I'm not eating Brewers chalk outside of full stacks. If you have money, you can play Altuve, but this is not the place I want to prioritize my spending.
Okay, interesting. All right, TJ, second base.
Here and Wong are the 2 best plays. If you want to spend up, you got Jose Altuve. If you want a cheap play on FanDuel, you got Max Muncy. I'm good with all of them. I also like Brendan Donovan, who is nice and cheap, second base eligible, as is Nolan Gorman, both for St. Louis. I like a Toronto stack quite a bit today, and so Kevin Biggio is one of my favorite options if you want to get really cheap. But the top options for sure are your Milwaukee guys here. Colton Wong on DraftKings, and then you got Wong and Hira on FanDuel.
Okay, third base.
Third base today, we got Spidey Bomb number 2. Do we have enough likes? We're 11 away. Hit the damn like button. Austin Riley. He's facing a left-handed pitcher who doesn't strike anybody out, and Austin Riley has a 398 ISO this year against left-handed pitching. He is Spidey Bomb number 2. He is one of my favorite one-offs on the slate, and I do love a Brave stack here as well. Nolan Arenado is a strong play. You got Jace Peterson nice and cheap for Milwaukee, but I do fear a little bit of potential pinch hit risk for him, but he's still cheap and he's in the best spot possible, so he's a great play. Jose Ramirez and Alex Bregman, both strong options, wouldn't tell you not to. And Ryan McMahon is nice and cheap leading off against Woodruff. But my favorite is going to be Austin Riley.
Okay. Cheese, third.
Yeah, kind of a running theme here. Like you've got a chalk brewer who's too cheap. But it's certainly not my favorite play at the position if you just have unlimited salary and can spend up. So let's do that. Totally agree on Austin Riley. That's a fantastic play.
And
Jose
Cheese,
Ramirez.
real quick, I'm sorry, and I want you to start right back there in a second. But just as a general rule, are you avoiding these Brewers as one-offs?
Yeah, Tellez, Adames, and Renfroe are the 3 that I'm not avoiding as one-offs. All the rest I'm avoiding as one-offs.
Okay. Any reason? What, those guys have home run pop? Or?
Yeah. Yep. Those 3 are the big power hitters.
Okay.
I mean, the other hitters, they can hit home runs in this spot, but that's not their game. So I'm not playing the rest of the guys as one-offs.
Okay. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I think you were just bringing up J-Ram.
Yeah. So up there with Riley, Arenado, we got Jose Ramirez, we got Bregman, both the Dodgers very much in play. I also like Manny Machado anytime nobody's playing him. Such a good spend up spot because everyone outside of Peterson is going to be under probably 8% owned or something.
I want to add in Matt Chapman too. He's another guy I forgot.
Yeah,
about,
this
quite a bit
position
for
is so good. Yeah. Like, why would you play Jace Peterson when you've got like 10 superstars?
Okay.
And no, Peterson's going to homer twice now. But.
Right. Yes. All right. Take me to shortstop, Cheese.
So this is where one of the guys I will play on his own for Milwaukee with Willy Adames. On FanDuel, Trey Turner is cheaper. So play Trey Turner. And then like Ahmed Rosario is 2,400 if you need salary, or you can do like Swanson and Bichette to be a little different. On DK, Trey Turner is way up there. And there's not great cheap stuff here. Like Javi Baez at 4,100, Pena at 44. I'm playing a little Nico Horner at 35. But Adames is the Milwaukee chalk I'm a little more willing to eat.
TJ, shortstop.
Yeah, a lot of similar page. Adames is the top play, but Trey Turner, especially on FanDuel, he's cheaper. He's coming in lower owned. It's a phenomenal play. We do have so many other spots, though, at this position that are very, very high upside that are going to pick up next to no ownership. Bo Bichette hit 3 home runs yesterday, and he's a very streaky player. When he's seeing the ball well, he hits it well because he's a very aggressive swinger. And so when he's off, and he strikes out a lot. When he's on, he hits a lot of home runs, and he's on right now. He's facing a reverse splits pitcher. I like Bo quite a bit. I like Dansby Swanson. Jeremy Pena, I like more in a Houston stack than as a one-off. And then Javi Baez, you can play nice and cheap as well as a one-off. I'm okay with that. But you got Adames and Turner up top, and then I love Bichette and Swanson as my 2 favorite pivots.
Okay, very nice. That brings us to the outfield. Good sir, TJ, what do you like?
So the outfield has the Brewer I think I'd be most willing to fade if I was running a Brewer stack, and that's Christian Yelich. Mm-hmm. I would rather play Renfroe, Adames, Tellez. I would rather roll with those guys and leave Yelich out of my stack if I'm trying to get somewhat different, just because he's dealing with a bit of a neck injury. He hasn't been that good this year. He really hasn't been that good since his MVP season. And so Yelich would be the guy I'm most willing to fade. Mike Trout, outside of the Brewers guys, is probably the top play on the board. I like Shohei Ohtani as well, even in the lefty-lefty matchup. Juan Soto, same thing. He's going to be a low-owned, and he's a star, so I'm absolutely good there. Newt Bar is leading off for St. Louis. I love saying Newt Bar, and he's in a good spot because Espino's really bad. He's put up some decent outings, but that's not going to continue. Espino's really bad, and so Newt Bar I like as a one-off or in the stack as well.
Okay. Anytime you can say Newt Bar like 5 times in one position, you did good. Cheese, what are you doing in the outfield? What do you like? And are you in a similar boat with Yelich where you can do a Brewer stack without him?
Yeah. So first thing I'm going to say is that's all anyone has said all day. And I think the ownership is going to be flipped on Renfroe and Yelich. I think Renfroe will be the chalk and Yelich will be chalky.
Interesting. Okay.
Renfroe is the chalk Brewers outfielder because everyone is a little scared of Yelich, but he'll still be plenty popular. But yes, I absolutely agree. He is not one of the Brewers I'm playing outside of stacks. And yeah, you don't have to have him in a stack.
Okay. What else do you like there?
So after Renfroe, definitely want to pay up for Trout anywhere possible. On FanDuel, Cedric Mullins at 3,100 and Kyle Tucker at 34. Like those kind of prices are why it's just really easy to build whatever you want on FanDuel. Because those are like $5,500 players on DK. So the cheap outfielders are a little more important on DK. Like Newt Bar's price is more useful there, along with Corey Dickerson. I like Ian Happ a pretty good bit in the mid tier. And then there's a lot of teams that have cheap bottom of the order guys, like in stacks, Chas McCormick with Houston or Ozuna and Grossman with Atlanta and things like that. Yeah, it's loaded and every price range has something.
Okay, excellent. Cheese, I got a question for you, and then we'll do the other normal question I ask. How many lineups are you running today?
25.
Okay. How many of those 25 are Brewer stacks?
5.
Oh, that's way lower than I thought.
Yeah, I'm way under. I'm definitely planning to lose tonight.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I
want to pop in quick too for the outfield. 2 guys I forgot to mention.
Sure.
I love George Springer. I love Julio Rodriguez as a one-off. And on FanDuel specifically, Taylor Ward is batting cleanup at 2,900. That's a great salary saving option.
Okay, very nice. One stack to win it all. TJ, where are you going? And in fact, where are you going? Because you're playing one stack to win it all tonight.
The Atlanta Braves.
Cheese?
The Dodgers.
Okay, very nice, gentlemen. We have perfect time here. About roughly 9 minutes here to get in some QQs. So I'm going to scroll up just a little bit and see what we got. Okay, Cheese, do you still like Meyer? You still like the Meyer FanDuel GPP in a large field?
I mean, if you need the salary, I know TJ said he's playing him on FanDuel. Yes, it's really hard to need that much salary.
Well, is that the pitcher that's 5K or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, he's points per dollar. He's probably the best pitcher on the slate.
Okay.
I just don't know that you need points per dollar as much as raw points on FanDuel.
Gotcha. He also says St. Louis stack FanDuel GPP. You said St. Louis was one of your top 3 favorite stacks. In fact, you named it first. Does that apply to FanDuel as well as DK?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Very nice. All right. Matt Hack says, any guesses why Wright's projection, TJ, is so much lower than the other top pitchers? Oakland is trash against right-hand pitchers.
His projection is not that much different, but I think the reason would be because Wright is also not as high of a strikeout pitcher as somebody like Shane Bieber or the other top guys on the board.
Please call on me because it's a chance to knock on projections. This is why we don't just use projections, because it includes 2021 Kyle Wright, who was terrible. If it was only projecting 2022 Kyle Wright, he would be higher.
Agree with that. And then the final note on that is if you look at their strikeout props, Kyle Wright's strikeout prop is 4.5 today. Valdez is 7.5. Bieber is 6.5. Musgrove 5.5. Even Woodruff 5.5.
Valdez is 7.5.
Valdez's strikeout prop is 7.5 today. So I love the under on that one.
Hammer the under.
That's real. I can't even believe you said that. Wow. free unders. I realize he got 8 strikeouts a couple times, but that's just not his thing.
It looks like it's plus money to bet the over and it's negative to bet the under, whereas on everybody else it looks like it's reversed. So
Yeah.
I think it was kind of acknowledged that was a bad line.
Yeah. The sports bettors say the juice is on the under. That's
There you go.
how you would say that, TJ. I'm just because I'm going from DFS to sports betting now, so I just want to make sure you have the turn. The juice is on the under, TJ.
Juice is on the under.
There you go. Let's see. Hey, Cheese Scorekeeper says Colorado's so bad. Why? So why not much love for Woodruff? I get it. The game's in Coors, but the Rockies are hot trash, and Woodruff is only going to be like 9% owned.
Well, the Rockies are not hot trash at home. Like you need to consider them to be 2 different teams. They're still bad, but if we didn't have 4 other aces, Woodruff would be higher owned. Like it's just not necessary. If you want to play him, I get it, but there's just other pitchers who are as good as him who aren't in Coors.
Okay, that is a very, very good answer. Carolina guy, FanDuel GPP, TJ, any interest in Hap as a one-off?
I don't really think you need him, but I know Cheese likes him more than I do, and they were talking about him on GrindersLive as well. So I don't love him, but I'm kind of in the minority there.
Okay. Chinatown, DK Cash, Cheese, best punt at catcher if you're playing 5 non-Narvaez Brewers.
Yeah, depending on what counts as a punt, I would go to Keibert Ruiz at 2,600, and you can do Jan Gomes at the pure minimum if you need it.
Okay. Hey, if you're watching this for free on the YouTube, hit that like button. It's just free content. You just got to hit like. That's how you pay. You just hit the like button. DFS NFL, he's pumped. He says FanDuel GPP TJ Mayer with a Houston stack. Was it Meyer with a Houston stack or Bieber with a Cub stack?
I think I'd probably rather Bieber with a Cub stack there. I am toying with the idea of going Mayer with some big guns, but I like doing it with Atlanta, Toronto, or even mixing in some Arenado Goldschmidt type guys.
Very nice. Cheese. What Samara says, hey, give me a home run pick.
I don't know how sneaky you want to get. Mike Trout.
Yeah. Do you like Trout over Ohtani? Because I feel like Ohtani is now trying to win MVP. Not that he wasn't. But he's gonna hit a lot.
I mean, they're the same. Like,
okay.
Yes, I will take Trout first, but
also a good point that Roth just made that like when you do try harder to hit home runs, you hit more home runs. That's just a fact.
If you try to hit a home run, like that's usually when I would play baseball, I would just not try. And that's why I've never hit one in my entire life. But had I known that, I would have just tried to hit them. And, I might have been in the bigs right now. DJ says DK single entry 2v2. TJ, stacking the Dodgers. Should I go Betts Duffy or Muncy Varsho?
Betts Duffy.
DK GPP.
If that would complete a 5-man stack, I guess I'd go Muncy Varsho.
Okay. All right. DK GPP last spot. Franmil or C-Dick? Cheese?
Franmil. C-Dick's a little better. Like, he's going to project a little better because of the team, but like as a one-off, I would go Reyes.
Okay. Aside, FanDuel Cash 2v2, Wong, Rosario, or Hayura Suzuki?
Was that me, sir? I would go Wong Rosario.
Very nice. Achilles Cheese, would you be opposed to a Wright-Meyer pairing on DK? Cash. This is Cash.
I'm not really opposed to it, but I don't think it's necessary. Like, there's enough cheap bats. I think I would recommend Wright Valdez or Wright Bieber.
Okay. All right. TJ, this is a cash question for you. Dickerson or Ortega?
Dickerson.
Very nice. Cheese. J. Sam says, if you're playing one lineup and I have a spend up spot in the outfield and I can't decide between Trout and Ohtani, how do you break the tie when you face these situations when you're building?
So what you may as well do today, like there's no good way to do it, but they're facing a lefty who is better against lefties. So simply take the righty.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like the right call. Okay, FanDuel Cash, TJ. Adames Mullins or Trout and my boy Rutschman.
I'd probably go Trout Rutschman.
How could you not? I feel like Trout and Rutschman are both better than Adames and Mullins.
It's because Adames is in Coors, but
Oh,
I don't really care. I'd go Trout Rutschman.
yeah. I mean, that just seems like they're better. Mr. Red Sox, MT Red Sox says, Cheese, what are the panel's thoughts on Musgrove as a pivot off of right? And in a GPP, would you take Baltimore or Houston? This is all DK.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're part of the panel.
I am.
So I don't think there's enough ownership difference between Wright and Musgrove to, like, if you're saying pivot from that perspective, no. But like they're both, one's not a much better play than the other. So I have no issue with either. I slightly prefer Wright, but I mean Musgrove is great as well.
I slightly prefer Wright too. I was going to say I could actually see Musgrove coming in a bit higher owned though.
Yeah, I think we haven't projected like basically the same.
Yeah.
So really, that's they're both great plays and pretty toss-uppy.
Okay, and then the other one was, would you take Baltimore or Houston? That seems like definitely Houston.
Houston for me. Although I do like Baltimore, but it's Houston first.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Michael says, TJ, any preference? You got about a minute until lock, guys. Any preference between Quan versus Jimenez on FanDuel GPP, part of a Guardian stack?
Jimenez, more power upside.
Okay, very nice. J Sam's Cheese on FanDuel. Who do you think most people will pivot to when pivoting off of Milwaukee, Toronto, or St. Louis?
I mean, I think it's so spread out after that. Do not make your decision based on which you think will be more popular between Toronto and St. Louis. They'll be so close to the same and both less than half of Milwaukee.
Okay, great. Ink Magma.
Maybe both
TJ.
less than like a fifth of Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not relevant to try to figure out which one's going to be 8% versus 6%. Just play the one you like.
Okay. Is it crazy to just be 100% Milwaukee stacks, Cheese? Is it just
no?
Okay.
No, this is the kind of day you could do that.
Yeah.
If I was maxing on FanDuel in the $4 contest, I would probably do that.
Yeah, that sounds fun, and that is, I think, what I would do. Let's see. Ink Magma says FanDuel GPP Cheese, Logan Gilbert and Michael Harris II, or Shane Bieber and Robbie Grossman?
That's Bieber and Grossman for me.
Okay. Tom, DK Cash, Cheese, Bieber, right.
If you don't need the money, go Bieber.
TJ, any interest in a Baltimore stack and FanDuel single entry?
In single entry, I wouldn't be going that's crazy. No.
Okay. DK Cash, last man in, Castro or Donovan?
Donovan.
All right. Well, we hit the lock. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, see if there's any post-lock QQs. Chinatown says, TJ, can you say bet the house on Trout to hit one out?
Bet the house on Trout to hit one out.
Yeah, that was good. Really only the
Yeah, I
out,
wanted it to sound a little funnier than that. Can you say it again?
The out was a little bit Canadian, but not really. It was good.
Bet the house on Trout to hit it out. How was that?
Yeah, it was terrible. I hated
Even
it.
worse.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
FanDuel, last man in. This is a good question because I feel like these are both good plays. Cheese, Rutschman or T Ward?
Rutschman.
Very nice. Let's see. TJ, do you like Cards bats like Dickerson and Donovan better tonight, knowing that the Nats have no lefties in the pen?
That is a bonus, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. A couple more QQs and then we'll get out of here. Hey, if you're still watching on YouTube and you haven't hit the like button, I don't want to beg, but it's right there. You just click it. It means a lot to me personally. It means a lot to my family. So just click the like button. DK Cash for Cheese, Peterson Happ or Montero Renfro?
Montero Renfro.
DK Cash, last piece in the outfield, TJ Reyes or Willie Castro?
Reyes.
Aside, this is the final question, then we're going to get out of here. It says, hey, this might be a first in the history of Crunch Time, but would you consider Louis Brinson, is that Luis or Louis Brinson viable?
Louis Brinson.
Louis Brinson viable in FanDuel Cash as a last piece?
I'm going to let TJ take that one.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. TJ, are you like looking to confirm that or?
Like he led off yesterday and hit a home run, and he's minimum price. So I think that's why people are asking. But no, I wouldn't. be
If
doing that.
you have not been following baseball for a while, like this guy was like a super elite prospect like a decade ago, and then he just totally disappeared. And like, he was with the Marlins, and when he came up in like it's not a decade, it was like 2018. He was like terrible, and everyone was like, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. He was never good. Like his career batting average, I think, is under 200. Maybe if he hit one yesterday, maybe it's over 200 now. Like
I was gonna say, he hit a home run yesterday though.
Yeah.
So does the
So
last
he's hot.
7 years of data matter if he hit a home run yesterday?
I suppose not. Yes.
So he's basically Tim Beckham.
Yeah. Except Tim Beckham was good in the majors for a while. Brinson was never good in the majors.
Was he? I never realized Tim Beckham was ever good. I thought he was.
Did have a little stretch. Yeah. That Brinson did not have.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Hey, guess what? We are going to get on out of here with that wonderful show, as always. TJ, have a glorious time in Chicago, man.
Thank you so much. I will. Do you either of you have any hot takes as to on Thursday Night Football, who's going to be replacing Van Jefferson if he doesn't play? Is it Lance McCutcheon? Is it Skronek? Is it the other guy? Who's gonna Atwell? Who's gonna be the big play on Thursday Night Football, guys?
I've heard of Skronek, so we'll go with him.
I hadn't heard of any of these people. I like Atwell.
See, I'm leaning McCutcheon.
Okay, so we've all got some skin in the game. We'll see.
The live final in Chicago is going to be a lot of fun because it's Thursday Night Football starting up obviously in 2 days, and I got 150 tickets to the Millie Maker on Fanduel for that one, and then we got the live final Friday night, batting practice at Guaranteed Rate Field on Saturday with all the extra fun stuff, and NFL Sunday. So we're gonna have a good time.
Do you think you are physically capable of hitting a home run?
We're gonna find out on Saturday.
Cheese,
like, I don't know. Like, is the ball if the ball was on a tee, maybe I can hit a ball pretty far in slow pitch. And so
yeah, like if it was in slow pitch. I mean, if literally someone was like home run pitching to you, like home run derby style, do you think you are capable of hitting a home run?
I think so.
Cheese, do you think you are capable of hitting a home run?
No.
Yeah. I'm with Cheese.
I don't know how far like 350 feet is.
Yeah,
like
it's pretty
in like high school, unlike high school Canada parks where you're playing slow pitch in beer leagues. Like, yeah, it's really easy, but I don't know how far that is.
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't think I could do it. And I'm like fit and I was going to say young, but I'm not anymore.
It's not that I don't think I can do it. I know for a fact and can guarantee you that I cannot do it.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of thinking. It's just
I'm gonna guess the answer for me is no, but we're gonna find out on Saturday.
Okay. Well, I'm pulling for you, obviously. You know, good luck. Hit a home run and win $1 million. How does that sound?
Like that's the plan. That's
home
the goal.
Run first, and then if you can do two good things.
Well, I mean, I think the goal is actually going to be to win $1 million on Thursday Night Football, win $500K in the live final, and then hit a home run on Saturday.
As long as you hit the home run, we will be pleased with everything.
Right. The rest doesn't matter. Just focus on the home run. See what else happens. Okay, we're going to get on out of here. So for Cheese and for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.